Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Let's get into the college basketball picks. The last day that we're going to be breaking down the college basketball games before the big dance. This is the conclusion to all the conference tournaments. We have 5 games in action in total, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my best bets. We will have 3 of those best bets. Thank you all for tuning in here on YouTube. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Mark. This is the Bettor Mark, and if you guys aren't liking this video, subscribing, and obviously let me know what you're betting down below in the comments. I want to get this video going in the right direction, and the best way we're going to do that is recap yesterday's plays, where we were close to getting a little bit of a overtime game within that Akron Miami of Ohio game that would have, in my opinion, led to a Akron blowout if they got just that little bit more of time on the clock to extend their lead. However, they were able to edge out the Red Hawks by a 2-point margin in a great comeback. So there were some opportunities to take the Zips there with a money line play live in game when they were down big against Miami. That was a bet that hopefully a lot of people did take advantage of. Akron, clearly the best team in the MAC, in my personal opinion. And that was a good one yesterday, but we did go 2-1, so 2 wins out of the 3 games that we did give out. So a profitable day again, really getting it done in the college basketball arena, and we will get 3 picks out for you guys right now in this video. So let's do it. Let's get into OUTLIER. That is the betting platform that I use for a lot of data and insights. For me, guys, this is one that if you're not using OUTLIER to make your bets and do your research, it really is putting you in a disadvantage, not just college basketball, but all sports. It really does give you a leg up. So links down below for OUTLIER if you want to sign up down below. All right. Exciting news. We have a website currently being built with a lot of premium features. So I did kind of want to tease that for you guys. Leave a comment too. What would you like to see in that regard? If there's any features or perks that you want me to offer, I'm open to suggestions. I have a really good team working on that right now as it's under construction. So excited to offer that and get that one up and running before the baseball season does kick off. Okay, but let's get into these games. All right, and let's start off in the Ivy League. Talk about the first one on the card. Noon tip-off, Cornell and Yale. This is a game that is very intriguing for me. These are 2 of the teams that I've backed a lot during the course of the regular season. Cornell comes in this game opening at a 6.5-point dog, now settling at 5.5, and that will be a pick that I recommend. Okay, Cornell, we're going to grab those 5.5 points. I think this is one where you have to find yourself. I'll look into the betting splits, put this up on the screen so you guys can see what's going on with the action. But I think you have to ask yourself which camp you're in, okay? If you think Yale is going to take home the hardware, this is going to be a game where I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, personally. If you think that Cornell is going to win the game, this is going to be potentially a shootout, or the 5.5 points will be negligible. Okay, so it's almost one of those games where if you like Cornell, take the over. If you like Yale, take the under. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. The reason why is as these 2 teams met in the regular season, we'll pull up the head-to-head. You can see the first matchup, 88-92 in favor of Yale. 103-88 in favor of Yale as well in that earlier one in February. Okay, so playing twice in February, we saw totals of 180 and 191. Total set at 159.5. Okay, that gives me a little bit cause for pause. Okay, why would the odds makers set the total at 159.5? Projecting possibly a little bit more of a slower, slow-down game, a lot more delicate possessions, and down the stretch, that's kind of where you get into that argument that could be the route that this game takes. All right, so it might be a little bit lower scoring. My personal opinion, though, we're backing the Big Red here in this spot. So a little bit of a Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights analogy. If you don't chew Big Red, well, you guys know how that one goes. So we're going with Cornell Big Red in this spot, and taking the 5.5 points. Wish I would have got the 6.5 a little bit earlier. Not the best number out there, but I do think this is one where you could also look into that 2-1 action within Cornell on the money line, upwards of 80+ points per game. Okay, and I think that Yale does play a little bit better defense. They have a little bit more athleticism, but this is something where I don't think that it's going to be that easy to beat Cornell three times in a row. And if you look at the Big Red here, guys, if they get upwards of 85+ points, I just don't see a way that Yale ends up scoring with them. So that's kind of where I look for a big effort out of Cornell here in this spot. let's grab those 5.5 points. And I do have a very strong lean towards the over, but I'm not going to get involved because I think that's a little bit fishy in terms of the total. So let's just grab the points here in this spot. Next game is an interesting one here in the SEC, probably the marquee game on the card outside the Big Ten. Tennessee and Florida. Tennessee coming in this game as a 5.5 point underdog, playing outstanding yesterday against Auburn. And if you've been kind of watching my takes, and I've been talking about Auburn a lot, they're probably the one seed that I'm not the most in love with, okay, full disclosure. And I also want to tell you guys something, a little bit sidebar on this one, but I will, there's a very strong potential that I do schedule a live stream where we're going to break down the full bracket in its entirety once Selection Sunday, that show commences. So keep your eye out for a live stream to be scheduled here on the channel at around 6 o'clock. I will probably schedule that for 5:30, maybe a little bit earlier, just to get you guys in the room before they unveil the bracket. We'll go through each and every game, and we'll fill out a bracket here live on stream. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing here later on in the evening as all this action concludes. But let's get back into Tennessee and Florida. This is a game where you look at the Florida Gators, in my opinion, the number one team in college basketball right now, okay? I know they're fourth in the country, but I don't think that's something where it really, quite frankly, matters. The injury status there with Duke and some of their star players, I just don't think that Florida is the team that I would want to be playing in regardless of seed. I think they're the number one team in the country. I think that they're going to take home the SEC crown, and I think that, albeit Tennessee plays great defense, and this is a game where if we look into the past matchups, you were able to see kind of the head-to-head on the season. We did get a 64-44 outcome in favor of Tennessee. That was kind of a dud, and then Florida kind of returning the favor earlier in the season, winning 73-43. So that's kind of be the game that I do forecast. I think that one we saw on February 1st was more of a dud, an outlier, if you will. And I think that as you look at the Florida Gators here, what they were able to do yesterday against Alabama, they're the best team in the country. I think that it's not even close, and I think 5.5 doesn't even matter. If this game was 8.5, I probably would still take Florida. I think they are really that much better than every other team in the country. And the interesting thing about Florida is we talk about March Madness and how you have to win the hardware, how you have to play to win the hardware. And they have the rare innate trait that they could basically morph into any team that they need to be to win that said game. And I think that's kind of the interesting thing within this matchup. Tennessee plays great defense. If they want to slow the game down, Florida will play to that style, and I think they still will be effective. And if they want to run it up, you want to play a team such as Alabama, they could end up, they could hold serve and they could score with the best of them. So I love the Florida Gators. I think they get this one done, 5.5. I've kind of felt this way throughout the course of the season that they were the number one overall team in the country. And I think that we get to see that on full display today as I look for the Florida Gators to cover the 5.5. So that will be my second official play I give out on the channel. Okay, the next two games I don't have official plays in, but they are games that I do have leans on. George Mason and UAB, we'll talk about it a little bit. Those were games that I did have a lean on yesterday with the points yesterday in those two respective games, and they ended up winning outright. Okay, George Mason going against VCU. This almost made my card. I would recommend taking the points with George Mason. I think that you look at kind of both of these teams, VCU and George Mason, great defensive clubs. The only difference is VCU can score a little bit more, but if they don't have their game, 8.5 is way too many points, and George Mason is live in the spot. And these are two squads that you look in March and you look at the big dance. They are no unfamiliar squads when you talk about teams that have made noise in the postseason. So would not shock me if both of these teams found a way to win this ball game and punch their ticket. But for me, guys, I think 8.5 is way too many points. So I would lean towards the Patriots here, taking George Mason plus 8.5. Okay, UAB Memphis, I'm staying away from it, but Memphis undoubtedly is the better team. Great season. All right, we'll tip our caps to that, but UAB is that team that does scare you a little bit. So they are a live underdog as well. 20-11 on the season, 13-5. if you want to go down some of the numbers, the interesting thing to kind of take home is UAB 17-14, and they did not cover in both spots against Memphis. So this is one where I like UAB, but I don't trust the numbers, and I think that Memphis would be the correct side. I just don't want to get involved in this game, so this is a pass for me in this spot, okay? Kind of a lean towards the over as well, but that number has crept up a little bit. I think that these conference championship games, what we've been noticing is a lot of times they do get a little bit slower. They like to slow down the possessions, the pace. It's something where it's a different style of basketball than what we see during the course of the regular season, and that's something that does lend me towards just having some pause with taking overs in games I normally would, so I'm going to stay away from that, okay? The final game on the card that we will have an official play in is Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan edged out Maryland. Unfortunately, I did need Maryland to win that game on the money line in another side bet that I had, but it's okay. The Terrapins, great run, great season. Looking forward to them in March as they are one of my favorite teams to watch in college basketball, and kind of just horrendous defense there on that inbound play where they just let Michigan run a play and just traveled the course of the full court to get down there and just have a untested layup to take the 1-point lead as time basically expired. So it is what it is. Great season for Maryland, but it's not over yet. I think that when we talk about this game, though, Wisconsin and their star player is just outstanding when it comes down to college basketball in terms of skill and what you look for in a college basketball player. Wisconsin, great team structure. I think that they are one of those teams that we talked about. One of my earlier on in the season, I took them as one of the long shot futures plays, them and Maryland, to be honest. And I think that Michigan really doesnn't deserve to be here. 22-9 on the season. I think that Wisconsin 23-8. And you look in conference, they've done a little bit worse than Michigan actually in conference. But I do think that the Badgers here in this spot take care of business against Michigan. You can see kind of the head-to-head. They did not cover against Wisconsin in their regular season matchup. But this is something where I look at Scotty and what they were able to do against Michigan State, winning 77-74. I just think they play sound, fundamental basketball, and it's going to be very tough for the Michigan Wolverines to get this job done. So I'm going with Wisconsin. I think they're the better team. The one thing I will tell you guys in this game, I'm going to buy the half point, okay? I will recommend doing that instead of laying the 3.5, and that's kind of where you can find an alternate line as I have it up on your screen, guys. You can find a minus 2.5 at minus 135. That's what I'm going to be taking, okay? So if you want to buy the half point and you can find it, great. Otherwise, we're going to take Wisconsin minus 2.5 just in case, okay? Just in case, minus 2.5 at a minus 135 price, and that will wrap up my 3-pack of this 5-game slate with my college basketball best bets for Sunday, March 16th. So let's go with the Gators minus 5.5. Cornell, let's take those 5.5 points and buy some points and lay the juice with Wisconsin minus 2.5 going against the Wolverines. Okay, appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for updates with the website. Also, let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on the live stream and the website. I want to get your feedback down below. We will probably schedule that a little bit after this video gets posted, and also, good luck with your picks. All right, so stay on the lookout. We'll see you guys all a little bit later on. Enjoy it. Enjoy the final day, and good luck with your picks. Cheers.